of my friends say, girl, you better take care. Cause that man is trouble, you best beware. And though deep down, I know I might be headed for teardrops. Now that you got me started, I just can't stop. No, no. Cause I love you, baby.
During the cold season, it's not very encouraging to go out for a walk, especially when the weather is very cold, it's raining most of the time, and it's dark most of the time. It affected me by not going out for a walk as much anymore, which is a shame because walking is, in my opinion, one of the best exercises to do. It's calming, it's relaxing, it's good for your physical and your mental health. And I do always feel good after a walk, especially early in the morning. Like right now, there's just something about an early morning walk. Hello, I'm Layla. Welcome back to my weight loss and self-improvement series, a journey that focuses on long-term change. Now I have a plan that consists of 4 components, plus some additional things that I want to try out and think are beneficial, or I've already done and I know are beneficial. Let's dive right into it. I am slowly building a morning and evening routine from the ground up. And the last 2 weeks, I've started with reading a book when I woke up and reading a book when I went to sleep. After that, I have introduced a new element, which is doing breathing exercises. It's nothing too fancy, it only takes 2 minutes, but it feels like 20 minutes. Apparently, I am quite impatient with doing breathing exercises because it feels like forever. It doesn't really have a calming effect on me. But I do know that it has quite the benefits, and I do hear from some people that it takes time to get used to, so I don't want to write it off immediately. I will give it a couple more weeks, but after that, if I'm still not really liking it and I'm not feeling the benefits of it, then I will replace it with something else. I did not want to do too much in week 15, and that's because I've let irrational negative self-talk in, which surprised me because since this year, if those kinds of thoughts would pop up, I would immediately shut it down and saying, hell no. I don't know why I allowed it in, and it had quite the impact on me for several days, but eventually I was done with it. So in week 15, embodying a person or a personality was barely present, but in week 16, I was embodying somebody that is motivated, determined, and wants to put in the extra effort to achieve one's goals. And even if it's delusional, treat it as if it is reachable. So I've been continuing doing my plan and still taking small steps, but on top of that, I focused a bit more on what I'm eating and my calorie intake, my exercising and movement by either going out for a walk for an hour or going to the gym, and checking in with myself. On the day that I've posted this video, there were only 2 weeks left in 2024, and I want to try to get the most out of it. I want to end this year on a high note. By the way, with the way that those irrational negative self-talk has affected me was on a way that I was feeling like I was not capable of doing anything, but also feeling a bit of worthlessness, which is insane to me thinking about it right now, because the audacity of myself, like, come on now. I cannot do things? Please. Lies. Liza Minnelli lies. Of course, I've been learning more from ultra-processed people. I will not bore you with everything that I've read, but I do want to tell a little bit about something that I find quite interesting and a little bit funny. So the term ultra-processed comes from the Brazilian scientist Carlos Monteiro, if I pronounce that correctly, and he and his team basically discovered that the problem with ultra-processed food is not necessarily the fat, the sugar, the salt, and the lack of fiber, but the extent of the processing. That's making a long story extremely short. Now, a researcher, Kevin Hall, heard the hypothesis of Montero and he thought that it was absolute nonsense. So to prove that wrong, he did his own experiment. There were two groups. One group would have a diet that consists of 80% ultra-processed food, and the other group would have a diet that consists of 80% minimally processed food or whole foods. So that went on for 2 weeks, and then the group switched the diets. Again, to make a long story very short, eventually the results of the experiment was that the participants that ate the diet with 80% ultra-processed food ate 500 calories a day on average than the group that ate the minimally processed foods or the whole foods. And they also gained more weight. While the participants that were on the 80% of the unprocessed foods or the minimally processed foods, they lost weight. And again, I'm making a long story quite short, but Hall proved himself wrong and proved the hypothesis of Montero right. I found it quite funny because he wanted to prove somebody else's hypothesis wrong, but then eventually proved himself wrong. I found it quite ironic, but I'm glad that it happened because his experiment adds to the evidence of what the effects are of ultra-processed food. Also, if you want to learn about ultra-processed food, but you don't want to read a whole book or you don't want to listen to people that are boring. Now, I do have to say though, the writer of this book, Chris Van Tulleken, is not very boring. He actually explains things quite interestingly, in my opinion. But otherwise, I would suggest watching the video by Kiana Doctory. Again, if I pronounce that correctly. She has a video about ultra-processed food, which is quite easy to understand and to follow along. So I would suggest to watch that. Again, barely present in week 15, but fully present in week 16. I had to pull out the Observing Myself card again at the end of week 15, which luckily didn't take very long. I understood quite quickly what was going on, and that's when I was done with having that irrational negative headspace. My reflections were short and simple. I didn't really feel like writing pages, and making it short made it easier for me to stick to the daily reflections. Well, the only additional things that I've done is to focus more on my eating, my calorie intake, my exercising and moving, and checking in with myself. With the eating, I focus more on homemade meals, either made by myself, by my mom, or by somebody else. I focus a bit more on my fiber intake because I still struggle with that one. I'm aiming for the 25 grams a day, and this week I came close around that. Some days I went quite over and some days I just went under, but I managed to stay around the 25 grams of fiber. And I did allow myself to snack because if I would cut that out immediately, I don't think that would go very well, but I was focusing on the portion control and when I would eat it. So most of the times I would eat it immediately after a meal, especially dinner, or I would eat it with either my lunch or my dinner. I usually eat 2 times a day because then I'm already eating and I'm already quite full, and when I'm snacking on things, I will not eat the entire bag of chips or the entire big cookie or something like that. So with the calorie intake, I've put the limit at 1800 calories and I allowed myself one day without a limit at all. And with the checking in, I did it mainly because I had some social occasions going on this week and I can easily go over my limit without knowing it, especially when I'm having fun. So the checking in is to see how I'm doing. I just retreat for maybe a minute to check how I'm doing, and if I'm not in my limit, then I can go on, and if I am at my limit, then I will just go. I found my green floral dress and I lost 1.2 kilos. I am so happy with that. So I have a goal weight for the end of the year, and that is to weigh 110.1 kilos. Because if I reach that, then I would have lost 20 kilos this year, because my starting weight on the 1st of January this year was 130.1. So that would just be very satisfying to lose exactly 20 kilos or even more. And at the beginning of me sharing my process and my journey. On YouTube I weighed at 116.4, so that would mean then that I've lost 6.3 kilos. So I am still motivated and determined and want to put in the extra effort to reach my goal. 2 weeks left. 2 weeks left. I, by the way, attempted to vlog and I suck at vlogging. I thought just try and vlog my social occasions. Well, let's see how that goes. Maybe show that a little bit. Yeah, I severely suck at vlogging. But I'm still gonna show you my attempts because otherwise everything would be to waste. So enjoy. Dit kan wel, denk ik.
Allergrootste fan. Yay! Santé.
So it's Sunday evening, week 16, and the week is basically over. I just came back from celebrating Sinterklaas with friends, which is a hybrid between the Dutch holiday Sinterklaas and the international holiday Christmas. And we did a Secret Santa kind of thing, and we wrote a poem for each other. And I've got this book, De Mens is een plofkip, which is about how the food industry is making us sick. And I've got this lucky charm. Not that I believe in these kinds of things giving any luck, but I do think it's cute. Week 15 has kind of been the week of pessimism, while week 16 has been the week of optimism. Bad days and bad weeks are inevitable, but so is bouncing back, thankfully. There are 2 weeks left in 2024, and I've done a lot this year. I've changed a lot in a positive way, and I've worked a lot on myself, and I still need a long way to go, and I still need to grow a lot. But I've already done quite a lot this year, and I've really seen the change in comparison with the last 5 years, if not even longer. So whatever happens, I am proud of myself of what I've done this year. However, I do not want to ruin that feeling by ending the year on a sour note. So I will try my best. I will do my best to just end the year on a high note, and that I'm on the last day of 2024 thinking back and thinking, you've done it. I will see you on the very last day of 2024, the 31st of December. Just gotta make the most out of these last 2 weeks. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Tabé.